In this video, books that feel like a movie does not mean a book that already has a famous film. It means the reading experience behaves like cinema. Scenes are clear in your head, momentum is obvious, the prose keeps you moving, and chapters feel like clean cuts to the next beat. There are a few common ingredients. The first is visual specificity. You can picture spaces, objects, and movement without rereading. The second is pacing control. Some books sprint like an action sequence. Some build like a thriller that keeps tightening. Some work like a documentary, where short segments assemble a bigger story. The third ingredient is scene design. These books tend to use strong locations, clear goals, and immediate stakes, even when the writing stays calm. Today, I will give you 8 options that cover different movie modes. You can pick one based on the kind of film you want in your head. To keep this beginner-friendly, I will not summarize plots. I will describe reading experience, tone, and what kind of pace each book delivers. If you want the fastest possible entry, start with one of the thriller picks. If you want big blockbuster visuals, start with the science or adventure picks. If you want something more intense or atmospheric, start with the darker options. And if you want a montage style read that still feels cinematic, there is a perfect choice for that too. Jurassic Park, Michael Crichton. A science thriller with blockbuster energy, set in a tightly controlled high-tech environment where biology, engineering, and spectacle meet on the page. This feels like a movie because Crichton writes in clean external images. You see what is happening in front of you, then you move. He uses concise description and frequent scene shifts, which creates the sense of a camera changing angles without fuss. Another reason it sells the cinematic effect is the mix of explanation and action. The technical details are presented like a good film that shows you how the machine works right before it matters, that keeps your attention while also making the stakes feel grounded. If you enjoy films that balance thrills with smart how-does-this-work moments, this is a strong match. It is also a good pick if you want a book that feels visual even when you are tired, because the sentences do not ask you to hold complex lore in your head. You can simply follow the scene. Practical reading advice. Treat this like a weekend movie. Read in larger chunks if you can, because the momentum builds when scenes stack. If you prefer shorter sessions, stop at natural chapter breaks, not in the middle of a tense sequence, so your pace stays calm and controlled. If you want one reason this is evergreen, it is the craft. Even if you have seen adaptations, the book still delivers its own clarity and escalation as a reading experience, which is exactly what we want from a movie feel recommendation. The Da Vinci Code, Dan Brown. A modern puzzle thriller with rapid scene changes, set across recognizable locations and built around short chapters that feel like quick cuts between beats. The cinematic trick here is chapter length. Brown uses very small units of momentum. Each unit ends with a clear forward pull, usually a new clue, a new location, or a new question to answer. The effect is similar to a film that keeps cutting away at the exact moment your attention peaks. The language is also intentionally accessible. That matters for movie feel. When the prose is straightforward, your brain can spend more energy on imagining the space and the movement. This is a great pick for readers who want fast pacing without graphic intensity. It is also a good pick if you like stories that feel like a sequence of puzzles rather than deep interior character study. You are following momentum, not marinating in mood. Practical reading advice. If you want it to feel like a thriller, read in 20 to 40-minute blocks. The short chapters will make that block feel like an episode with multiple scenes, which is satisfying. If you read only 5 minutes at a time, it can feel like constant stopping and starting, which is not the intended rhythm. A useful fact for context. This book is part of the Robert Langdon series, but it is commonly read as a standalone entry. If you like the style, you can explore the other books later. For this list, we focus on the cinematic pacing experience, not on completing a full series run. The Bourne Identity, Robert Ludlum. A classic spy thriller with kinetic pacing, set across international locations and driven by survival-focused scenes that keep attention on movement and immediate choices. What makes this feel cinematic is physicality. Ludlum builds tension by tracking bodies in space. Where someone is standing matters. Where exits are matters. How fast a decision must be made matters. That is the same language action films use, just translated into prose. The structure also helps. Scenes often begin already in motion, then fill in context as they go. That creates the sense of being dropped into a sequence like you are watching a chase start mid-frame. This is a strong pick if you like action movies that feel grounded and procedural. It is less about flashy style and more about competence, danger, and the logic of getting from one moment to the next. Practical reading advice. If you want maximum movie feel, read with attention to geography. When the book gives you a street, a room, or a route, pause for a second and picture it. You will notice how often the tension is built from simple spatial clarity. Series note, This is the first major Jason Bourne novel and it can stand on its own. Later books exist, but you do not need a full series commitment to enjoy the one film experience this book delivers. The Hunger Games, Suzanne Collins. A fast young adult dystopian thriller with clean visual beats, set in a stark high-contrast world designed to be easy to picture and hard to put down. The movie feel here comes from clarity. Collins writes in concrete images and simple cause and effect. You always know where you are, what the immediate problem is, and what the next choice must address. That produces strong mental visuals even for readers who say they do not see books. Pacing is also tightly managed. Chapters tend to end at natural cliff edges, which creates a steady forward pull. It is not hype, it is structure. You feel like you are moving from scene to scene with no wasted camera time. This is a good pick if you want cinematic momentum with very low confusion risk. It is beginner-friendly in the best way. You can read quickly, stop easily, then return without losing the thread. Practical reading advice. If you are unsure about committing to a whole series, treat the first book as a test screening. Finish book 1, then decide. The Hunger Games is part of a larger series, but you do not need to plan the full set today. One interesting note about why this sells visually. The narration stays close to immediate perception. It tends to focus on what can be seen, heard, and felt in the moment, which is exactly the sensory layer that makes a book feel like a film. Ready Player One, Ernest Cline. A pop culture adventure with arcade pacing, set in a vivid virtual landscape where quests and challenges create a strong sense of visual progression. This book feels like a movie because it is built from sequences that behave like levels. You understand the objective, you understand the constraints, you understand what success would look like. That is a very cinematic structure because it turns reading into a chain of set pieces. Another reason it works is specificity. Even when the world is digital, the details are concrete. You can picture rooms, interfaces, and action beats, which keeps the camera running in your head. Who this is for? If you like films that feel like a game, or stories that reward curiosity, this is a strong match. It is also a good choice if you want forward momentum without dense world-building explanations. Practical reading advice. If references are not your thing, do not treat them like homework. You do not need to recognize everything to enjoy the pacing. Read for the scene and the objective. The rest is texture. Series note. This is the first book in the Ready Player One line, but it is commonly enjoyed as a standalone experience. For this list, we care about the fast and visual feel, not about collecting every related title. World War Z, Max Brooks. A faux non-fiction oral history with documentary energy set across many locations and voices, creating a montage-style reading experience instead of a single continuous storyline. This is cinematic in a different way. Imagine a well-edited documentary that cuts between interviews, reports, and short scenes that reveal a bigger picture over time. Each segment works like a self-contained clip, and the accumulation is where the impact lands. The format also makes it very easy to read. Because entries are short, you can read in small sessions and still feel a complete scene each time. That makes it ideal for busy readers who want something vivid without needing long immersion blocks. Who this is for? If you enjoy ensemble movies, war documentaries, or stories that show scale through many perspectives, this is a great match. It is also a strong recommendation for readers who want high visual imagination, but do not want a traditional chapter-by-chapter arc. Practical reading advice. Treat each interview as a miniature film. After an entry, pause for a beat and let the image settle. That small pause makes the montage effect clearer and keeps the tone calm. One useful context note. The book is often compared to its screen adaptation, but the reading experience is distinct because the oral history structure is the main engine. If you want a book that feels edited like film, this is one of the best examples in modern popular fiction. The Road, Cormac McCarthy. A stark post-apocalyptic survival novel, with art film pacing set in a stripped-down landscape where the prose is minimal and the images land like quiet, long takes. If the earlier picks are fast cuts, this is a slower camera. It is cinematic because it creates strong frames. You notice light, weather, distance, and silence. The writing leaves space, and your mind fills that space with visual detail. This is not a comfort read. It is a focused experience that many readers remember as a sequence of stark images, rather than a chain of plot points. That is exactly why it belongs in a movie feel list. Who this is for. Choose this if you like serious films that rely on atmosphere, restraint, and emotional weight, rather than constant action. It can also work for readers who want a short book that still feels enormous, because the scenes are pared down and concentrated. Practical reading advice. Read in a quiet setting if possible. The book's impact depends on attention and tone. Also, do not rush. Letting a scene end, then taking a brief pause, helps the film-like framing settle in your mind. A helpful expectation. This is a book where simplicity is the style. If you go in expecting flashy twists, you may miss the point. Go in expecting visual stillness, and it can feel like a powerful independent movie on the page. The Shining, Stephen King. A slow burn horror novel with a very strong sense of place, set in an isolated location where atmosphere builds steadily and individual scenes feel staged with careful lighting and sound. King is cinematic because he makes spaces feel lived in. You can picture rooms, hallways, and small objects with almost no effort. That matters for horror. When a setting is clear, tension does not need tricks. It can simply accumulate. This is also a good example of cinematic pacing that is not fast. The book builds like a film that starts quiet, then tightens scene by scene. The effect is controlled rather than frantic. Who this is for? Pick this if you want a movie feel that comes from atmosphere and dread rather than action. It is also a good pick if you like stories where the location is a character in the cinematic sense, meaning the place shapes every scene's mood. Practical reading advice. Read in longer sessions when you can. The tension works best when you stay inside the setting for a while. If you read in very short bursts, the atmosphere can reset between sessions. Series note, there is a related later novel in the same world, but you do not need anything else to get a complete, self-contained experience here. This section is about why the reading experience feels like a carefully directed horror film. Now you have 8 different versions of movie feel, so choosing becomes simple when you match the pace to your mood. Mode 1 is sprint pacing. You want quick chapters, clear problems, and frequent scene changes. Choose the Da Vinci Code for puzzle momentum or the Bourne Identity for chase momentum. Mode 2 is blockbuster pacing. You want spectacle plus explanation like a big studio film that still cares how the machine works. Choose Jurassic Park for that blend of science and set-piece clarity. Mode 3 is momentum with emotional pull. You want clean visuals and steady forward movement, but you also want a strong human stake that keeps you turning pages. Choose the Hunger Games for the most beginner-friendly version of that. Mode 4 is level-based adventure. You want objectives, stages, and clear progress markers. Choose Ready Player One for a playful, fast, scene-driven ride. Mode 5 is montage and scale. You want a story that feels edited together from many scenes across a wide map. Choose World War Z for documentary-style movement. Mode 6 is atmosphere-first cinema. You want long takes, strong frames, and mood that builds. Choose The Road for austere visual weight, or The Shining for directed horror atmosphere. The key point is that movie feel is not one thing. It is a family of pacing tools. Once you pick the tool that matches your energy level, you get the satisfying sense of watching a film in your head, but with the depth only reading can give. A quick note on format, because delivery can either amplify or soften the cinematic effect. If you want sprint pacing, audiobook can be ideal. A strong narrator turns short chapters into clean cuts, and it becomes easier to stay in motion while walking or doing chores. This works especially well for fast thrillers like the Da Vinci Code. If you want blockbuster pacing, print or ebook can be better. It lets you pause briefly on a technical explanation or a vivid description without losing the thread. That is part of why Jurassic Park often feels like a smart film on the page. If you want atmosphere, slow down on purpose, read in a quiet place, and keep sessions a bit longer. Horror and austere fiction rely on lingering in the scene. That is why The Shining and The Road often land harder when you do not fragment the reading too much. A simple technique that helps any of these books feel more visual is intentional scene framing. When a new location appears, take 1 second to picture where the camera is. Is it wide? Is it close? Is it moving? You do not need to force imagination. You are simply letting the book's clarity do its job. Finally, use a low-pressure approach. Pick one book that matches your mood, read the first 50 pages, then decide. That single habit prevents overwhelm and keeps your channel watch and reading behavior consistent over time. To recap, the goal was fast and visual, but with different cinematic styles so you can match your current taste. For a smart blockbuster, start with Jurassic Park. For rapid puzzle momentum, start with the Da Vinci Code. For classic action chase energy, start with the Bourne Identity. For clean, beginner-friendly cinematic momentum, start with the Hunger Games. For quest structure and playful progression, start with Ready Player One. For documentary montage and wide scale, start with World War Z. For austere art film framing, start with The Road. For directed horror atmosphere, start with The Shining. If you only want one safest pick that works for the most readers, Jurassic Park is a strong default because it balances clarity, pace, and visual set pieces without demanding genre expertise. I will list every book in the description so you can save the set. And if you want a follow-up built on the same axis of visuality, the next natural step is what to read after you finish a fast cinematic book, with options that keep momentum without repeating the exact same vibe. Pick one, Read a little, and let the experience tell you if it matches the film you want in your head.